breaking down Liberty sports. This is the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back to the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. We're in the third segment, which is the Patriot Fan Zone. Reminder, Wednesday nights are Friendship, Lubbock Cooper, and Liberty, 6 to 7 p.m. I am with Lady Patriots coach Morgan Glaspie, who I saw last night, and I watched her team play last night, and I just left her alone after the game because when I was doing the stats, and I've watched enough basketball to know you've been around basketball all your life, you can do a lot of things well in a basketball game. Sometimes you got to hit a few shots, though.
That I told them today, we made, and this is no lie, two 2-point field goals the entire game.
2 out of 15, I think.
2 out of 8. The huddle report came back 2 out of 18, and so I told them today, just trying to be positive, and we had a good shooting practice and got our legs back. But I told them, no matter how we prepare, offense, defense, if we only hit 2 shots from inside the 3, we're not going to beat very many people. You can win games a lot of ways without making shots, but you do have to make a few. We really haven't had a night where everyone has scored. Just it's either Reagan or, Abby. The first Snyder game was our leading scorer. Alyssa a few times. Ava Kincaid chipped in a few times and scored in the high, 15, 17. But we haven't had one night where our 3 leading scorers have, come on at the same time. And so for none of them to, Alyssa finally got back 10 or 11, but we really just haven't had one of those nights where everyone has just been hitting.
And the good news is you haven't had a whole lot of nights like last night either.
Yeah, and, we've still been able to compete and defend well, and we gave up too many points last night, and that's one thing we pride ourselves on is trying to stay around holding teams to 35, 40. So, we knew we slipped up a couple of times on defense, but we say it all the time, and they'll make fun of me and repeat me, but ball's got to go in because that's what I say all the time.
To me, if any good coach, if players start repeating what you said, then you've made an impact.
You've said it enough.
They've picked up on, they know what you're going to say, and that's what good coaching is. The good news, I'm going to put the positive spin on it. By beating Levelland the week before, you didn't want to lose last night, but that stings, but that leaves you in a 3-way tie for first place. So you're not looking up at anybody. You're still right there. You, Levelland, and Estacado tied for first place.
That's how we ended the locker room talk with, though. I was frustrated. We all kind of were. It's hard to prepare, for a couple of days and play so good against Levelland and then come out and be so flat against Estacado. But we I have the whiteboard, and on the whiteboard we have standings and records, and that's kind of what we ended with was the positive part of, yes, we wanted to be 4-0 and at the top by ourselves, but, there's a 3-way tie now, and we're right there. And I asked them before we left the locker room, can you still win district? And we said yes, and, still make the playoffs, yes. So ball's still in our court, and the ball keeps bouncing, but we've got to make a few changes and be able to hit some shots.
And we talked about this on a podcast earlier this week. You're without Ava Kincaid for now, at least, and that's I mentioned that to Jaden in between segments here. That's heart and soul type stuff. You have really good players, but Ava is that heartbeat for you guys.
Just kind of like last night, when you have Ava, the best player on the other team's guarded. You don't have to worry about them, and so it allows the other ones to do their own thing. And against Levelland, I thought we had a bunch of kids step up and kind of feel like Bailey. She's going to play her hiney off on defense, and she guards tremendous players, but, now she's having to step up and sometimes guard the best player. And against Levelland, and she did amazing on 32. And so, like last night, I think it kind of threw us off a little bit, having to move some people around that would normally be guarding the second, third best player that can help and rotate and get some steals. And Ava's just kind of a glue piece. She's not going to score the most, but she plays her hiney off, and like I said, I say she's not going to score the most, but with a broken hand, she had 17 and 15 and was 3 for 4 from the 3-point line. So she's tough as nails, and we're definitely kind of trying to find that rotation without her, but it is going to be tough. So we may see her back the last district game and in the playoffs, hopefully.
I told you this the other day about beat the brakes off. You're the youngest coach that I've ever had heard use the word Heine twice. You can tell you're the daughter of a West Texas coach.
Old man.
What did you tell me the other day? You're an old soul.
I'm an old soul.
Have you used Heine with your girls?
Yeah. They laugh at a lot of the things I say, and I'll make statements to them, and they'll laugh and have no clue what I'm talking about. And my assistant and I, because, Randy's a little bit older than me, and we'll both be like, y'all never heard that before? And they think we're crazy, but, oh yeah, I'm an old soul.
See, I've got a 16-year-old home, so a fun game for me is to try to say something that she looks at me like that, and I'm pretty good at it, so I totally understand what you're saying. Levelland, Liberty, and Estacado all at 3-1, and in that district, that's a little bit like the 5A districts here. You're in good shape, so we'll be back. We'll talk more about the Lady Patriots when we come back on the Patriot Fan Zone after this break on 100.7 The Score.
Breaking down Liberty sports. This is the Patriot Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the second segment of the Patriot Fan Zone on a Wednesday night. I'm with Liberty girls basketball coach Morgan Glaspie, who I don't know, I'm probably crossing some lines I'm not supposed to. For somebody who's going to be a second mom, or mom for the second time, I guess, you still look very comfortable coaching. I did say this to Joe Sexton last night. You stomped once last night, and I told him, if that little baby's asleep right now, you're wide awake all of a sudden because that stomp's going to wake
She starts kicking. She starts kicking. Trey was around the exact same time. I did not plan well for a basketball coach, but I coached in with Trey. On Friday, I coached in a district championship game. Had Trey on Saturday. So I've been in the same boat, but really I was more calm last night. Against the Levelland, I got to jumping up and down a few times, and Randy had to tell me to calm down a little bit. So.
And I know your dad's not going to tell you to calm down. Does mom sit? Does she have? You'd
actually be surprised. They both do, but I coached under my dad when I was pregnant the first time, and he was pretty. I wasn't supposed to travel to one of the games about 2 weeks before, and I ended up convincing my mom to take me. And he was not very pleased when we walked in the gym. But even after that, he kind of gave me restrictions on when I could sit on the bench. And
you don't want to mess with grandpas.
He kind of went dad mode instead of coach mode. So
no, you don't mess with grandpas, especially grandpas and granddaughters. You don't want to. That's stuff you don't want to mess with. So we talked about this between the break. You guys lost the game. That's to tear the scab off. But now you have to get those girls to realize that. Because you're in district now, you got to get on the bus, go to Big Spring. You got to take care of business. These next 3 games in particular, not to do the anti-coach thing and look too far ahead, but now you have to make sure that you don't let one become 2 or 3. You have to make sure you're focused in and keep doing what you need to do.
We've I told you, we referenced it as kind of the check boxes, and even before we played Levelland the first time, we kept talking about Levelland, and they hadn't lost a district game in a few years and kind of ended that streak. But we just emphasized how it doesn't start with that. It starts with beating Snyder the first time, and then beating Lakeview, and then playing the 2 big games. And then, now we're to another checkbox. Now you have to go to Big Spring. So it's one game at a time. And that's what I said today. It's not like we're going to, just prep for Estacado and Levelland. We're prepping for Big Spring the exact same way, watching film. We're looking over the scouting report, what they do well. So we've kind of tried to emphasize they've been through the tough district thing where you have to wake up the next day and be ready for another good team. So hopefully their maturity from last year, we can kind of wake up. And I told them today that if they don't have a bitter taste in their mouth, not just from losing, but kind of letting that 4-0 and top spot slip away a little bit and ready to step on the floor with some aggression on Friday, then I'll be a little disappointed in our comeback mindset. So hopefully they show up.
A couple girls I want to talk about, though, from last night that haven't necessarily stolen the headlines much, and that's Avery Atchison and Cameron Weatherly. I thought they came off the bench and gave you guys a spark. Nobody hit many shots, but not big offensive numbers, but just added a little bit to what you're going to need as long as Ava's out.
Yes, and they did against Levelland as well. Against Levelland, between Avery, Cameron, and Lindsay, they kind of were on a rotation. And that fourth quarter, Coach Damel and I just had to decide defensively who is going to be able to rebound and get stops, and that's kind of where Avery comes in, is she's reckless, and sometimes it's a little too out of control, but you're going to get every bit of physical from her. And she actually came up with a huge rebound to kind of seal the deal at the end against Leveland. And last night, I felt like Cameron is kind of stepping into her place. And we haven't just avoided that Ava's not there. And we've had conversations that some of those 3 guards that, rotate throughout the year, they're going to have to step up and play a bigger role. And instead of kind of looking at us like we're crazy, they've just bought in and done it. And, Alexis kind of does where she needs to as well. The first half, and even Leveland, she started, didn't play a lot, showed up, started again, didn't play out the first half, but had a great third quarter. So they all just kind of take their role when it comes and do what they need to do, and we've kind of tried to talk to them about that.
They're high school kids. They should be excited. It's like getting the keys a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
When you first start driving, you get to go out there and start to show what you can do a little bit earlier than maybe you should have. Liberty is, I think this is right, 13-13 now, 3-1 in district. Hit the road for Big Spring on Friday, and then I think are at home against Snyder.
At Snyder.
Also back-to-back road games. We'll be back next week on the High School Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta, and this is 100.7 The Score.